A lot of the traditional advice is outdated. And not only that, it's opposite. I have a patient, he's a doctor from Las Vegas, and he's so studious, like a Boy Scout. And he had a major event. He went to cardiac rehab. He did what they told him, and he got worse. His blood pressure got worse. His blood sugar got worse. He was kind of a hot mess when I met him. He was having palpitations, going to the hospital for bad blood pressure. They told him to have a high carbohydrate, low fat diet, and that gave him worse blood pressure and worse blood sugar, right? People can heal. Maybe this happened to somebody listening. If you have a lot of plaque in your heart vessels, people will just grow an extra vessel. Your body will just grow one. You don't have to ask it. You don't even have to know you need it. It'll just grow it. And this can be why, well, you're not even trying to be healthy. Your body's you don't even know you have a problem, and your body's so good, it's gonna grow an extra artery. That's incredible, right?
Is something standing between you and your happiness? It was for me. I had to face my depression and the constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal, and I want to share that with you. As a gift to you, we've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference. And that's where our sponsor, BetterHelp, comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor, BetterHelp, support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today.
As a teenager, I decided to live better, so I gave up the meat, eggs, and cheddar. At 20 and 30, I wanted more, so I strengthened my mind and my core. Living a life that is healthier and wealthier because I choose health.
Welcome back to the I Choose Health podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Leslie. When it comes to heart health, I think that there's so many things that we believe when it comes to care. And I think that we're kind of limited to the idea that maybe only conventional care is the only thing available. And I think because of that limitation, when we hear other answers, we're so doubtful about it. And so, when I had, our next guest on, when I had her on a couple months ago, she really helped us to look at holistic health in a different way and a different lens to see that being able to receive care in ways that are outside of conventional understanding and conventional wisdom, it is possible. And we've seen it happen time and time again, not just in the heart health world, but also when it comes to cancer and diabetes and different types of illnesses. So I want to welcome back to the show Dr. Melanie Icard. Dr. Icard, welcome back to the I Choose Health podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I want to know, and I mean, we may have touched on this last time, but why does it seem that when it comes to care, like it's only the conventional or it's mostly the conventional model that is usually considered, right? Or is these first considered? Is there a way that, or is there anything that we can do to help change the conversation so that people can realize that there's other avenues of care, right? Because when it comes to science, we're taught that science is not really just a inference of something that can be proven over and over again, and right? And so you've seen with conventional medicine, we've seen with holistic care, that if you follow these particular procedures, right, even though every case is different, you could affect the care of an individual who's suffering from a certain ailment. So what can we do to change that conversation and have people look at different avenues when it comes to care?
Yeah, and the reason it's so hard, I think it's like because it's really hard to see beyond your reality that you've accepted and you've created, right? And most of us, we were just spoon fed, like, this is what you do. When you're sick, you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, right? And then you go on about your business, and maybe you need ongoing prescriptions and eventually a surgery. And as people are kind of waking up and seeing more than, what's just been given to us, they're saying, well, this doesn't really seem to be helping me, or I've got all these side effects, and isn't there another way? And it's not that your doctor's a bad person. They're probably a nice person that wants to help people, right? But in conventional medicine, they very much in general stay in their lane, which is prescriptions and surgery, right? And I've seen people that have had surgeries and they were glad that they got it. So that happens. But then, I'm sure you also know people that have had surgeries and they're like, wish I could go back in time and not do the surgery. So I would say always leave that for like the last thing you want to do. And even the meds, if it's not an emergency, not the first thing you want to do, and lean into empowering yourself. Right. And even looking at that different, instead of like, oh, that's a lot of responsibility or a lot of work, like just change the language. This is empowering. This gives me hope, and this can actually improve my life. So it's just like, even just the whole mindset shift. Right. And then, do you want to be on meds? Do you forever? Sometimes it's like that. Right.
Mhm.
Do you like the results that you're getting? And if not, then it's time to take a different path. Or maybe it's not, you haven't done it yet, but you've seen someone else that
Uh-huh.
take that path, and it didn't look like the best path. So then, and then it's, find a naturopathic doctor, find a health coach, find a friend that found someone that they liked. The really cool thing with the internet now is that we don't have to be ignorant. We can learn stuff,
Mhm.
and find something that resonates, like go to a live webinar, learn something, and maybe you'll find your person.
Mhm.
And it's just like anything. It's just like doctors or therapists or buying a pair of shoes.
Mhm.
We're not all the same, right? So some people might say, oh, well, I tried naturopathic medicine and I bought 1,000 dollars of supplements and never took them,
Mhm.
okay. Like that happens, and
Right.
some docs are real heavy on supplements and then, send you out the door. So they're just try different things. Don't give up. It's like if you were having marriage problems and you went to one counselor and you didn't vibe with them, you don't want to give up, because this is your health. This is your life, right? And everyone's different, that would be the advice I would give, just get curious. But because people are healing, even like autoimmune diseases, things that when we grew up, probably thought that you have them forever.
Right.
People can heal, if you're, maybe this happened to somebody listening. If you have a lot of plaque in your heart vessels, people will just grow an extra vessel. Your body will just grow one. You don't have to ask it. You don't even have to know you need it. It'll
Mm.
just grow it. And this can be why, while you're not even trying to be healthy, your body's you don't even know you have a problem, and your body's so good, it's
Uh-huh.
gonna grow an extra artery. That's incredible, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So
You know,
what if we give it the right environment? What can it do?
mhm. I'm wondering as well, right? Because like with, even as you said, right, we're in an age, information age, where we don't need to be ignorant. But then I think one could also argue that with the plethora of information, now it makes it hard to deduce, like who is actually
Yes.
telling the truth, right? Or which
Yeah.
information is accurate. So how do you sort through that, especially when it comes to holistic care, especially in relation to the heart, right? For cardiovascular care.
Yeah, because like this happens a lot, because then it can be a double-edged sword where it maybe even feeds people's like neuroses and dopamine hits, and they're not going to bed at night, which isn't good for your heart, guys. They're not going to
Mhm.
bed at night because they're going down the rabbit hole, and you're reading about things that can cause your high blood pressure, and it's giving you high blood pressure, and you've self-prescribed like 50 supplements off of TikTok and YouTube, and maybe it's too much for your liver and your kidneys, but they all seem to have benefits. So that can definitely happen. So if it's that's hard, right? Because what I try to do is just make protocols that are efficient. Because maybe each little mineral and herb and supplement is cool in its own way, but do you need all of them? Probably not. You probably just want the results that you want. So the best thing to do, and that's hard to find, but just find someone that's giving people repeatedly the results that you want, and you agree with the systems that they're using, right? Because maybe if someone's helping people get thin, but they're all just doing a lot of, medications, and it seems to have a lot of side effects, maybe you like the result, but you don't like how they're getting there, So it would just be research. I would say just do research, attend live webinars, reach out, book strategy calls. Most people in the space will or have someone on their team that will do complimentary or low cost strategy sessions, and then listen to yourself. Listen to your body. Like, am I getting a yes on this? Or am I just getting a no, or just kind of a blase on this, right? Because our body is always giving us signals, but somehow we just stopped listening to it, Did you do that? I know I did that. And every time I don't listen and then I realize I didn't listen, I feel like I get like struck down by God or karma, like immediately, and I'm like,
Yeah. I feel like that. No, I feel that happens a lot. Like, I feel like, especially when you're eating something that in itself, there may not be an issue with the food itself, but there may be an issue with the amount you're taking in, right? And your body is like, okay, you've had enough. Like, let's stop right now. And then there's something about the way that our brain interprets the taste of a particular food, right? It's like, I just had 2 of these cookies, right? And they're 140 calories for both of them, or whatever it is. But my brain is telling me that these things taste great and they provide some emotional relief in this moment. I need to have more, right? But then there's your body saying, well, really and truly, with the way that our system is set up, we shouldn't be having more. And, you still go ahead and eat, in excess anyway. So, and I think you're right. Like our bodies do operate in that way, but I think the brain plays a huge role in I think it's the processing that we lay down, right? Because it's like, majority of us, we eat whatever foods we eat, but not everyone's brain processing around food is the same, right? So what can someone who is probably, suffering with heart issues, um, probably is overweight, how can they start to mentally restructure their attitude towards diet, right? And exercise?
yeah.
What are things that they can start to do to restructure that?
Yeah, the thing that I found is there's two things that help the most. A big thing that's kind of just now entering the conversation, but it's like on the fringe, is insulin. We
Mm,
have to get insulin aware. Insulin is causing a lot of this damage to the cardiovascular system and other things we don't like, like getting a belly, which we know is also not good for the cardiovascular system. So get a fasting insulin level checked, ask for it. It's not common practice yet. You want it to be less than 5. If it's over 5, I wouldn't be surprised because most of us are insulin resistant, but that'll give you some motivation to take action, right? So if you look up insulin, what is it doing? It's increasing inflammation. Well, now we all know that too much inflammation is a bad thing, right? It's going to increase fluid retention, right? Well, that make that more fluid, okay, more swollen, that might bring up my blood pressure, right? And cause damage to the vessels. And the same thing with the belly. And then that insulin is then going to signal to the liver to start producing more cholesterol, which has traditionally been the cardiac focus, but we have to go further upstream and we have a lot of control over that. So what I have my clients do, and they respond really well. Like a lot of people, some guys will lose like 25 pounds without really trying in the first month. They'll start weaning down blood pressure meds in the first 2 to 3 weeks. And it's what I encourage everyone to do, and they mostly do it, is intermittent fast.
uh-huh.
2 meals a day, no snacks, or 1 meal a day, and closer together, so we have a bigger fasting window. The body seems to just love this, and just to make that a lifestyle, right? And every time you do eat, you need to move. People love to tell me, oh, I go to the gym this many times a week and do this and that. I love that. It's not that I don't want you going to the gym. I need you need you to move after you eat, because this gets the glucose into the muscles where it's useful, right? And so if you eat and you want to go to sleep, that's not normal. That's a sign that we're having a reactive hypoglycemia, right? So
Right.
just build in that habit that after you eat, you'll go for a walk. If you have a dog, he wants a walk. He's waiting, they want to go smell everything. Also, if it's hot, if it's cold, if you're like, I don't want to go for a walk, or you're busy, that used to be my favorite word. Now it's like a curse word. I try to keep it out of here, but do 30 squats. If you have a continuous glucose sensor on, you'll see that blood sugar go down in real time, like 20 points, like by the time you're done with the squats. So satisfying. And then I work with people that, are adults, so some of them may have a hip or a knee thing. So I say, well, that's okay. Grab the kitchen counter. Grab the dining room table, do a supported squat. Just you're moving those big muscles. It's still going to get the effect, right? And so the other thing that I alluded to is that I have everyone do a continuous glucose sensor. Everyone. And I don't care if you're diabetic, you're pre-diabetic, you're normal, you think you're normal. It's like if you're a human and you eat food, you want this information. You want to know how what you eat is interacting with your body and what's happening on that metabolic level. Because there's a lot of things, everybody gets surprises. There's no one that doesn't get surprises when they start that, right? Because there's a lot of things that I thought were a good, healthy snack, and I would have been patting myself on the back for it. And my body was like, oh, heck no. So, and you need to see it to get, okay, and then get moving, get your squats going, and then you look back and you just rework that meal. I always tell my patients, you have to Nancy Drew, like be the detective. Like what happened here? What could have gone better? And it's the best thing, Stefan, for patient compliance. Because they see what's working for them and what's not working for them, right? Because, nobody wants to listen to someone telling them what to do, right? So we have to get the buy-in ourselves, right? And so I've just found it to be the greatest tool to help clients help themselves and then make it sustainable. So what we do is we have everybody, when you're new, do it for 2 months, because the first month is just figuring out what's going on, and then the second month is you're building in the good habits.
I'm gonna ask. Oh,
You're build. Are you there? And then what I have people do is, because we're humans and we love to cheat, and try new things and stuff. I have them cycle in the sensor for just 2 weeks quarterly, so they can kind of it's kind of like balancing your checkbook. Like, okay, how am I doing? So that we don't, go a whole year, and we can do a lot of damage in a year if we're not checking in. So that's the best things everyone can do. Eat less often, and then get tuned in with your glucose and your insulin. And just one tip, because I've had people say, oh yeah, I did that. I did the glucose sensor, but they didn't have any guidelines. So it doesn't really help you, you just have it on kind of. So find out what your baseline is, where you're hanging out at. And then whenever you eat, it shouldn't go up more than 30. That's like a good baseline. So if you're going up 50 points, you need to look back at what you ate and then kind of figure out, well, what happened here?
so I'm wondering as well, right? Because you were saying to eat less frequently, right? And most of us growing up, or at least coming into teen years or early adult years, we're hearing from doctors, we're hearing from fitness experts. Well, you should be eating like 6 times a day, right?
Yeah.
What do you do when you get like information that seems to always kind of contradict the information that you're now receiving from a medical doctor? And I understand that when it comes to science, the science is always changing. But in some circles, even in 2026, I still hear people saying, yeah, you need to eat this many times a day. Well, what do you do if you get conflicting information like that?
Oh, it happens all the time. There's so much conflicting information out there. It's almost always a case of the opposites, but that is really a setup for insulin resistance. So they told us that for decades. Now 88% of America is insulin resistant. So I get frustrated when I hear that, you know? Like I was trying to teach because my stepkids, they're feeding them like second breakfast, second dinner, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then right before they go to bed, something else. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And they were telling me like in the school, how long are they at school? They feed them like 3 or 4 times. I'm all, whoa.
Mm.
That sounds totally nuts to me, but they said the same thing, 3 meals a day plus snacks. A lot of the exercise, the muscle builders will want to eat and eat and eat, but a lot of them look good, but do have metabolic chaos going on and are insulin resistant, right? And a lot of them, it's worth the trade-off for them, right? Because their priority is the physique, right? Where my
Right.
priority, is metabolic wellness, because that's the foundation for longevity and everything else. And it's just like I was a hypoglycemic kid, and they said just feed her, just feed her all the time, and then I became pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
Like we could have stopped it there at the hypoglycemia, but we didn't know. And that's the thing. Don't feel bad, because all of us were given this advice, and then it's just didn't work out, and if you think about it, think about our ancestors, think of even like probably like your great grandparents. Were they eating 3 meals a day plus snacks? Probably not, right? They were
Yeah.
probably farming. I don't know what they were doing, but they were probably busy, like doing stuff, not like eating that many times a day. I mean, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy to digest. It slows us down, right? And I think that's why people do so good with the intermittent fasting. And once you go to it, and it'll be a struggle at first, because you got to figure out, you got to eat more nutrient dense, more good fats, and proteins and stuff, and less carbohydrates, because they were kind of like a ping pong ball. You're going to find that you don't want to go back to like eating 3 meals a day plus snacks, because it's going to feel silly, because it's going to be so much time and energy, and you'll have so much more energy for whatever creative projects you want to put your energy on, instead of cooking, cleaning the kitchen, going to the bathroom, thinking about what you're going to eat next, and you could eat the same. What I found is that you could eat the same amount of food if you love food, but you probably won't. You'll probably eat less. You just need to eat less frequently. And because some people go, okay, I'll do like a 6 a.m. and a 6 p.m. That's not ideal, because we really want to make that fasting window bigger. So you kind of want to squish them together. And a lot of people might already be intermittent fasting, because it's been kind of, interesting to people for some years now. But the other thing is, you want to push the eating window up. Like, we don't want to be eating in the late evening, like after the sun goes down. So we're on that circadian rhythm, that natural rhythm of the sun. And it's hard in the summer, because I know some places the sun just doesn't go down. So I would say just pick 6:30,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask some questions now that, people probably say you shouldn't be asking these questions, or you're just, creating more issues by asking these questions. So I'll start here.
Oh.
When it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, right?
Oh.
I know with all the documentaries that are coming out, with all the news reports that are coming out, I imagine that some people are wondering if the pharmaceutical industry is profiting off of keeping people sick instead of actually healing them, right? And
Oh, yeah.
as we said before, like, we do know that there are good doctors out there who their focus is on actually caring and curing their patient, right? But we're not talking about the doctors, we're talking about the
The system.
industry, right? The
Yeah.
system. And
Yeah, because if you're how many people out there are on multiple prescriptions, every month, and I've had some patients that came in like that, and they're paying out of pocket, because they're business owners or whatever, and they're paying like $2,000 a month
Uh-huh.
for prescriptions. I mean, that's a good business, I mean, that's like somebody's house payment, I mean, maybe not anymore, but, but, and so like, if you step back and you look at it, it's a good business, but is it the right thing to do? No, people
Right.
should feel well and vital and be enjoying their life, right? And that's the thing too, because people are really in that well, does my health insurance cover it? And I don't
Uh-huh.
take health insurance, well, they don't want to pay for what I do, so I always tell them, like, look, you know what the health insurance is going to cover. You've already done it, or you don't want to do it, or whatever it is. The thing is, if you can invest in your health, this is the best investment you can make, right? If it gives you the results, right? Because maybe the prescription path isn't giving you the results that you want. It's just suppressing symptoms and giving you side effects. And you're on this hamster wheel of
Uh-huh.
managed disease process at best, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So just think about it like that. Like what I mean, if you think about it, like, what would you pay to, like, not have heart disease? You'd probably pay $1 million if you had it,
Uh-huh.
right? So why is the fact that you have to make like a small investment so scary when I mean, as business owners, like a lot of small business owners paying $5,000 a month for a policy with like a
Uh-huh.
$5,000 per person deductible before they can tell you whether or not they want to pay for something that probably isn't going to get you well.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and the craziest thing for me is, and then they've got the government to say, make a law that you have to buy it.
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's something to think about. And a lot of people, if they're healthy, like, why are you paying? I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I'm like, why are you paying 40 grand a year if you're healthy? Like, put that in an investment fund, and then you have your health insurance right there, Get a catastrophic policy. I mean, it just like I feel like it's like really, really financially stressing these families to have what I don't know. I shouldn't say that, but
I think that your answers will confirm this, but from what I've been hearing you say, from everything from diet to stress management to whatever,
stress management is key.
yeah, right. But I imagine that all these things that we're doing when it comes to diet, stress management can reverse heart disease, right? Because there's some people
It
that say,
does.
some people say, well, you
Absolutely.
can't just rely on lifestyle alone to reverse heart disease, right? But can you only rely on lifestyle to reverse heart disease?
I've seen it actually, because I have a couple different programs, and like the main program that the protocol is born for, it does have IV sessions, and it's not
Mhm.
medications, it's IVs that probably most people haven't heard of, like ozone, ultraviolet light, and plaque X. But there were people that wanted to do the program that weren't able to travel. So I said, okay, like let's try it. So they did everything except the IVs, and people were normalizing their labs, losing weight, weaning off
Mhm.
of their blood pressure meds, no longer having a blood sugar problem, and all of this in just a couple of months. And I think that it's so important that you'll see, like in 10 years, Stefan, everyone's going to be going back to the basics, right? Because right now everyone's like,
Mhm.
ooh, EBOO, ooh, peptides, ooh, the next fancy thing. But like this stuff is not actual longevity. Like that is
Mhm.
like the cherry on your sundae, but you don't have a sundae yet. The sundae comes from the basics. It does. It literally comes from the basics, and that's where the longevity comes from. And then you can get these fabulous effects from like adding in bioidentical hormones or peptides or XYZ. On that example, just because it's like everyone's kind of nuts about whatever fancy biohacking things going on right now, right?
Mhm.
Um, One of my clients that is real squirrely because he's got an international company, loves working, never wants to do his labs. Like you can't grab him, you can't catch him, right? But his wife was sending him to do all these fancy things like EBOO and plasma exchange. And then I would maybe see him like once every 2 months for IVs. And I finally got him to do his labs. he's dodging me hard for like 2 years, and the labs were not good. They were not good. And I told him, you got to do the basics. Like I have to kidnap you. Like you've been doing all these amazing things and we're not getting the results, right? Like I need to kidnap you and we've got to do the basics. So now I've got him detoxing and intermittent fasting. And just in the first week, he wrote me, I already lost 6 pounds. Just that, So I got to check in with him because he is so funny because he's squirrely and people, if you're squirrely, right? And because he did sign up to go to the retreat in Sedona. And then he called me the day of, and he's like, oh, I'm too busy. I can't come. And I'm like, what? This is exactly what you need. Like you need me to kidnap you. Yeah. So we were that close, but he is doing, some of it. So we have so much more power and it's in the simple things because the mind wants to complicate everything. And all those things are cool. Just like all those 50 supplements you bought on YouTube are cool. But do you need all of them? No, but we all need the basics. The basics, which I think is intermittent fasting, whatever you want to call it, stress management, nervous system reset. A lot of people get triggered by the word meditation. It's all this. It's just relax. Okay. It's like relax. So that's what we need. Disinflame. You've got to heal the gut. You can't get away from the gut. You've got to learn how to balance your glucose and insulin. And then for me with the cardiovascular stuff, I have them do this therapy to get the calcium adhesions out of where they don't belong and put them back into the bones and the teeth. Right. And then that's the basics. Right. And I always find, and I know everything's a mirror, so it's probably me, but the people that come to work with me, or maybe it's everyone on earth, I don't know. They've all been stuck in survival mode for decades. And this is the real root driver, right? Because you don't have to be yelling at people or going through a life trauma to be chronically stressed. Having a never-ending to-do list is chronic stress, right? Always being in a rush is chronic stress. Just always doing mental gymnastics, trying to figure stuff out. This is mental stress, and it's just going to flood the system with that cortisol, which also will trigger more glucose, more insulin, and then these effects that cause diseases of aging. And all of this, people, you can reverse this. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but you can. We've seen people do it. And it doesn't take forever, this guy in 1 week, and I'm sure he was just giving me a 5 out of 10, right? Lost 6 pounds. So it's just you just need the right roadmap and just be stubborn about the right thing. Don't be stubborn about your bad habits, be stubborn about getting well. Cause once you push through, it just becomes a habit, just keep going until it's a habit.
And, I imagine so, with friends and family who are meeting with their cardiologists, if they do have health issues, one of the things that they're put on are statins, right? And I wonder if statins are doing more harm than good for the average patient.
Well, yeah, I'm biased. I just hate them. So, I just don't even see the point at all. If we had my whiteboard here, I'm traveling, it's totally focusing in the wrong area. It's giving false peace of mind because people think, oh, well, I'm doing this, so I should be fine. Then have a major event later or more meds, right? So that's the worst part for me is the false peace of mind because we could be working on the stuff that works. So that's frustrating. That's kind of crazy making. I'll tell you a story really quick because I love this new AI imaging. You might want to look it up if you haven't heard about it. It's CLEERLY, CLEERLY. Amazing CT with contrast. They upload it into this AI software and it tells us every vessel on the heart, how much plaque is in there and what kind of plaque. Is it soft? Is it mixed? Is it stable? Gives you a real roadmap of what's going on because everything else we have is kind of, vague. So it's really helpful. So I'm at this dinner about this imaging. And they're showing up case studies. And there's a guy, and they've got him on at least 2 cholesterol-lowering meds. They've got his cholesterol really squished down to an unnatural low level, right? For me as a naturopath, it was cringy. I was like, ew. And then they go and check the imaging, and he's got a lot of plaque. So their natural thing is, well, let's give him more cholesterol-lowering medication. And I'm going, Mm. And then they check him in 6 months or whatever it was, 12 months, he has more plaque, right? So they keep squishing it down and squishing it down, but the desired result would be probably less plaque. But that's not what we were seeing, like this idea doesn't pan out in reality, right? We're not checking his insulin, we're not checking his stress. I'm sure he has both of those things going on. And I almost fell out of my chair because everyone in the room was like, oh yeah, we'll give him more cholesterol lowering medication. And I was all, it's pretty obvious that that's not working. Like that's not doing the trick, but that's kind of the thought process, right? But if you step back, you get like that bird's eye view. You're like, no, that's not really giving us what we want. And then let's talk about cholesterol. Like it's been unfairly villainized. It's a natural molecule. Our liver makes most of it. Liver is a very intelligent organ, does tons of things for us. Our hormones, that everyone's low in hormones these days, which could be a whole nother conversation. Like, is it the plastics? Is it this? Is it that? But everyone's low. And all your hormones are built on a backbone of cholesterol. Your adrenal hormone, right, which a lot of us are burnt out. We don't have adrenal hormone, is built on a backbone of cholesterol. Your vitamin D, I mean, I rarely see anyone with a good vitamin D, and they're always supplementing it if they do, right? Is built on cholesterol. And then your brain, which of course we want our brain to work well throughout our life, it loves cholesterol for that communication, right? It's like the insulation to your wires to connect. So there's all these benefits of cholesterol. So squishing it down to these really low levels is going to have side effects, right? I mean, what's the most common one? Like the muscle pain, right? And a lot of people feel that right away and they're just like, no. Okay, well, that's a sign that that's not working for you. But if your brain isn't working as well, do you know that people get short-term memory loss sometimes when they start those lipid lowering medications? And then there's a weird one that they wanted to put one of my clients on, Repatha. Have you heard about this one?
Repatha, no.
It's an injection one. Oh, they were selling it good to her. They're like, oh, it'll bring those numbers down. Which was a triglyceride, which she can do with diet, like in stress, right? And her mother had just died, so she was super stressed. They're like, oh, it'll bring your numbers down, and you only have to do it twice a month, and blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't like the idea of pharmaceuticals, so she goes online and looks it up. And because I didn't know this till she told me, she goes, Mel, do you know what it's made from? And I'm like, no. It's made from Chinese hamster ovary.
Wow.
I was like, she's like, I don't want to inject myself with that. Like, and it's a forever med, right? It's not a like, it's like forever, and once you stop it, it would be one of those boomerang effects where the cholesterol goes up. So even like the newer meds are kind of like, that's that. But just the whole idea for me of lowering the cholesterol is a distraction. It's going to have side effects. And then efficiently, people can improve their heart health with addressing glucose, insulin, inflammation, stress, intermittent fasting, and it sounds overwhelming at first. I get it. Everyone feels that way. If you're just doing a standard American diet and just going to the conventional doc, it's going to sound overwhelming. But like me and other people like me, we work with people that have never done any of this before, and you just do it in layers. And people always say, man, I can't believe how easy that was. I was overwhelmed at first, but I can't believe how efficient it was and how easy it was, right? And so there's no reason why you couldn't do it.
Well, guys, we're obviously running short on time, but I definitely want to have Dr. Mel back. Is there a standard American Heart Association diet advice outdated and potentially dangerous? And also, what can you say without being sued? So I know we don't have much time, so we can probably handle down another call. If you want to just briefly touch on it.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the traditional advice is outdated. And not only that, it's opposite. Like I have a patient, he's a doctor from Las Vegas, and he's so studious, like a Boy Scout. And he had a major event. He went to cardiac rehab. He did what they told him, and he got worse. His blood pressure got worse. His blood sugar got worse. I mean, he was kind of a hot mess when I met him. He was having palpitations, going to the hospital for bad blood pressure. And they told him to have a high carbohydrate, low fat diet. And that gave him worse blood pressure and worse blood sugar, right? So and medicine's slow too. There's issues, right? Like medicine's slow. There's there's kind of like an arrogance to it too. Like we don't want to be wrong, right? Definitely don't want the holistic doctors to be right. Like that would be a real kick to the ego,
Yep.
But, like I would say, do your own research. And then with research, it's crazy out there in the internet, because if you want to look up that eggs are good for you, the internet will tell you yes. If you want to look up that eggs are bad for you, the internet will tell you yes. So, you have to, be objective, see if it makes logic, maybe bring it to a friend or something like that, because it's crazy out there.
Yep. Well, Dr. Mao, I want to thank you again just for your availability and your time and your wisdom and, just the work that you've done. So we definitely appreciate that. So thank you for coming back to the I Choose Health podcast. This is Stefan
Thanks for
just
having
reminding
me.
you that choosing health is about choosing power, possibility, and purpose.